Hey guys, welcome to BP, the Bible Perspective. If God doesn't exist, when does he appear in evolution? Now, before we unpack this, please like and share this video and subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. Now before we get into it, I'm not approaching this from a scientific point of view. One, I don't believe the claims of evolution. I believe the claims of the Bible. I also do not promote that the Bible is a scientific book. It is a book of faith. In other words, I believe God tells a story. I believe the claims. I further believe that, or I have yet to see that any science or scientific facts have disproven the claims of the Bible. Now, while I certainly believe that the Bible and science can be incompatible from a standpoint of everyday application, meaning this, I don't think that the Bible should be taught in science class, nor do I think that the Bible should be banned from school. I think there are other applications. So this fight between creationism and science, I don't get into that because again, the Bible was never meant to be a scientific book. That wasn't its claims. It doesn't go into, of course, in any kind of detail. But I'm drifting already too far off. But when I think about evolution and what a lot of the emergence of the deconstructing or, leaving Christianity. So a lot of the ex-Christians turned atheists. This is what, when I'm listening, I'm looking at a lot of the videos. And so this is what some of the questions that's swirling around in my head in terms of answering some of their claims and their questions. And of course, the purpose of them to sort of, as they say, deconstruct from Christianity or the biblical perspective. So my kind of thoughts is that if you want to deconstruct from God, Christianity, the biblical God, I think a lot of them are grabbing hold of evolution. Now, in other words, evolution becomes, the kind of fall to ideology. So then my question becomes, if God doesn't exist then when did he appear in evolution? Meaning this, if you start with the premise that God doesn't exist, now the deconstruction movement is they kind of go into the Bible to try to dismantle it. But okay, let's start outside of the Bible and take their point of view. God doesn't exist. So then I have a lot of why questions to evolution and the process of man. In other words, if God doesn't exist, who invented him? And if we start with the kind of, and I know we're starting late in the game with just apes. In other words, if you go back to the very beginning as it's presented in evolution, I think you start with bacteria or amoeba, something like that, right? And so then my why is why would you form ape, then ape to man, right? And then, of course, the intelligence of man. So when did the thoughts come? In other words, if you have thoughts, do bacteria have thoughts? And I know this picture here doesn't do it justice. And these are just artists, comedic, in my opinion, comedic pictures. I Googled them And that's why I came up with several of these pictures here. I'm going to show one at the end that's even more hilarious. But just following kind of the process of evolution right here. So when the thoughts come, and then if you look at now apes, do apes have reason, of course, thoughts? We know they have some kind of thoughts. But you go back to the bacteria or the goop or whatever that life spun from, where did thoughts come from in this? In other words, at some point, where do thoughts get injected in here? Let me skip down and show you this. So when we look at this kind of course, overlay of man and woman, and you look at the development, if you start with, again, bacteria or whatever they say spun the sort of beginnings of evolution of man, the formation of man, at some point now, why did bones, right, circulatory, digestive, I'm missing one, right? Bones, circulatory, respiratory, right? Look at the digestive. Why did this all form in the first place? In other words, if you kind of go back to the that's just right here my question about different bones. Have you ever seen any different kinds of bones like this? To me, in a sense, are there bones like this in the various stages of man that would that you would show? Are they out there? Now, again, I don't know, but just with this kind of, again, why do we have this kind of development? Okay, the physical development. So why would eyes form? Why would we need to breathe to live? Why would we need to eat? Why did that form? See? And then, of course, when it says, oh, well, we need to eat, so now we need to eliminate the food that we eat. So now let's get a digestive system here. Why did that form? Right? Why did we need two eyes? Why do we need the five senses to enjoy food? Look at this evolutionary chart here. Again, just rendering the pictures of somebody's, to me, imagination. Why at some point did you need male and female? I'm glad for the male and female. To me, thank you, God, for woman. Thank you, God, for my wife. Love it. Love it. But why did it form if God doesn't exist? So in other words, just in the what they call natural processes, why would this form? Why would this form in the first place, right? Why would it form? So we kind of go back to this picture. Why do you have the male organs form, and then at the same time in evolution the female organs form? Why? See that you look at the logic of this process here. One of the things about, to me, evolution is what they try to say, that if you just kind of give it enough time, this will form. Really? Would it? Why? Okay, all of this stuff here, why would it form? Now I kind of go back to my kind of original question. So at some point, if God doesn't exist, and you have the formation of man, to me, as far-fetched as that is, so you come from ape to a more developed ape to an even greater developed ape, and then you jump to man. So at this point, now we jump to man. Where did the concept of God come from if there is no concept, right? In other words, if I stop and think now, If there is no concept of a higher power, at some point, why did we invent one? Now, again, I'm not expecting an answer from this. I'm just simply asking the question. If we start with God doesn't exist in the first place, if you start with that, then why did the concept of God jump into man's psyche and then become really big in man's psyche? A lot of questions to me about evolution. And so I want to leave with this hilarious picture of evolution here. Just meant to be hilarious. All right, guys, look. That's my perspective. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought or comment, add it to the comments section below. All comments are welcome. And I will see you in the next video.